The night I took my neighbor to a drive-in movie, I thought I was giving her one ordinary evening to forget her troubles. I never imagined she would climb into the back seat, look at me with tears in her eyes, and whisper, "The movie can wait." What happened after that night didn't begin with romance. It began with two lonely people who had both forgotten what it felt like to be seen, heard, and cared for. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unexpected moments that can change a person's life, please like this story, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Sometimes one small act of kindness can become the beginning of an entirely new chapter. My name is Daniel, and for almost 3 years, I had lived quietly in a small suburban house where most people knew me only as the man who left for work at 7 every morning and returned after sunset. I had become comfortable with silence. After losing my wife to an illness, I stopped making plans. I stopped going to restaurants, stopped watching movies, and stopped believing that happiness was something meant for me anymore. My days became predictable: work, groceries, dinner for one, and sleep. Then there was Emily, my neighbor. Emily lived in the little blue house next door. She was 36, a single mother with a 9-year-old daughter named Lily. I rarely saw her without a tired smile on her face. She worked at a local pharmacy during the day and cleaned offices 3 nights a week. Her husband had left years earlier, taking most of their savings and leaving behind debts that seemed impossible to escape. Emily never complained. She simply kept going, even when exhaustion showed in the way she walked. Our friendship began with something embarrassingly simple. One winter morning, Emily's car wouldn't start. I helped her replace the battery, and afterward she insisted on bringing me a plate of homemade cookies. A few weeks later, I repaired the broken porch light outside her house. Then she brought me coffee. Slowly, our small favors became conversations. We started talking over the fence in the evenings, sometimes for only 10 minutes, sometimes for an hour. I learned that Emily loved old movies, especially the ones where ordinary people somehow found their way back to happiness. One Friday afternoon, I noticed a flyer for a classic movie playing at the old Riverside Drive-In. I remembered Emily mentioning that she hadn't been to a drive-in since she was a teenager. On impulse, I bought 2 tickets and knocked on her door. I told her Lily could stay with her grandmother for the evening, and that she deserved one night where she didn't have to worry about work, bills, or anyone else. She hesitated at first. Then she smiled in a way I hadn't seen before and agreed. That evening, she arrived wearing a simple blue sweater and jeans, with her hair loosely tied behind her shoulders. She looked nervous, almost like someone who had forgotten how to go on a date. I told her it wasn't a date, just 2 neighbors watching a movie. She laughed and said that was probably safer for both of us. The drive-in was crowded, glowing with soft white lights and the reflections of hundreds of windshields. We bought popcorn and drinks, parked near the back, and settled into the front seats. For the first 20 minutes, we actually watched the movie. But then Emily became quiet. I turned toward her and saw tears running down her cheeks. I asked if she was okay, and she nodded, but her smile disappeared. She explained that the movie reminded her of the life she thought she would have. A husband beside her, a family vacation every summer, a house filled with laughter instead of overdue bills and exhaustion. She said she didn't regret Lily for a second, but sometimes she missed the woman she had been before life became so difficult. I understood that feeling more than she realized. I told her about my wife. I admitted that after she died, I had spent years pretending I was strong when I was actually terrified of becoming close to anyone again. I had convinced myself that loneliness was safer than loss. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then Emily opened the car door and climbed into the back seat. I was confused until she gently tapped the seat beside her and said that she needed a place where she could breathe without feeling like everyone was watching. I moved into the back beside her, and she leaned against the window. The movie continued playing outside, but neither of us cared anymore. Emily looked at me through tear-filled eyes and whispered, "The movie can wait." Those 4 words changed something between us. There was no dramatic kiss, no sudden confession, and no perfect Hollywood moment. Instead, we sat there talking for nearly 2 hours. She told me about her fears. I told her about mine. She admitted that she had started believing she would always be responsible for everyone and that nobody would ever take care of her. I admitted that I had stopped allowing myself to need anyone. That night, we didn't fall in love. We simply stopped being alone. After that, our lives slowly became intertwined. I helped Lily repair her bicycle. Emily started leaving extra food on my porch whenever she cooked too much. We watched movies at home, sometimes laughing so loudly that Lily complained we were ruining her bedtime. On Sundays, the three of us began walking to the little park near our neighborhood. But life had one more test waiting for us. Emily's pharmacy reduced her hours, and within a month she was struggling to pay rent. She tried taking another night job, but the exhaustion became overwhelming. One evening, I found her sitting on the porch with a stack of unopened bills in her lap. She looked defeated. I wanted to fix everything for her, but I knew giving her money wouldn't solve the deeper problem. So instead, I helped her update her resume. I contacted a former colleague who managed a medical supply company. Emily got an interview, then a full-time position with better pay and benefits. She cried when she received the offer. Not because someone had rescued her, but because for the first time in years, she felt like her future belonged to her again. Months passed. Emily became more confident. Lily's smile returned. And I realized that something inside me had changed too. I had spent years thinking that moving forward meant forgetting my wife. Emily helped me understand that loving someone again didn't erase the love that came before. One spring evening, we returned to the same drive-in. This time, Lily came with us. We parked in almost the same spot where Emily and I had sat that night. Lily climbed into the back seat with a blanket and popcorn, while Emily and I sat in front. Before the movie started, Emily reached across the center console and took my hand. She reminded me of that first night and laughed about how nervous she had been. Then she told me something I would never forget. She said she had thought the drive-in movie would be the memory she carried from that night, but the movie itself had become the least important part. Because what she remembered was being heard. Being understood. Being given permission to believe that life could still surprise her. I looked at the giant screen glowing in the distance and realized she was right. Sometimes the moments that change us aren't the ones we plan. They are the quiet moments when someone sits beside us while we are hurting and refuses to let us believe we are invisible. A year later, Emily and I were married in a small garden ceremony. Lily walked between us holding flowers, smiling so brightly that everyone cried. There was no extravagant wedding, no expensive venue, and no perfect fairy tale beginning. There was simply gratitude. Gratitude for second chances. Gratitude for ordinary kindness. And gratitude for one forgotten movie night that gave two lonely hearts a reason to hope again. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your support helps these stories reach someone who may desperately need